What is up, everybody, and welcome back to episode 13 of Triple Threat Talk. I'm your host, Connor Ryan. Today is December 17th, Tuesday. I hope all of you have had a great start to your week. I hope everyone is getting ready for the holidays coming up. I will be in Florida with my grandma for next week, so very excited about that. Yeah, I mean, I don't really know what else to say. We got a very good episode for you all today. We got recap from last Thursday, some Thursday games, Friday games. We're going to cover the NBA Cup games on Saturday, and then we got some Sunday games. Got a couple Instagram questions today, and then also just going to cover some of the recent NBA news just around the league, and then also just we're going to talk about the NBA Cup final that is happening tonight when you're listening to this episode. So yeah, before we begin, follow me on Instagram and Twitter at @TalkinTriple. Follow the blog, triplethreattalk.com. I know I haven't really been posting as much there. Just been pretty tired. We got a new dog in the Ryan household. Her name is Remy. She's a Scottish Terrier. She's great, but she's exhausting and she's on my hip like 24/7. But it is what it is. Like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below if you have a question or any suggestions for me. But I mean, let's get right into it. So first game up, from Thursday, the Celtics defeated the Detroit Pistons 123-99. The Celtics were without Jason Tatum, and this was also their first of the scheduled games due to the NBA Cup, missing the NBA Cup, that is. This was the Celtics' first game back since losing the game against Memphis about a week and a half ago. And the Celtics looked really rusty coming out of the gate. I think it was like after 6 minutes, I think the score was like not even like in double figures yet. It was like 7-6 or 7-5. But then the Celtics found their rhythm and basically just blew the Pistons out of the water. Peyton Pritchard led the way with 27 points, 4 rebounds, 10 assists, and 7 made threes. I saw a stat that he was the first ever Celtic player to put up a stat line of 25 plus points, 10 assists, 25 plus points, 10 plus assists, and 5 plus made threes in a single game off the bench. He has been playing out of his mind. He has been I said it earlier in the season, but he has been the X factor for the Celtics. His shot creating ability has improved immensely. He is not a huge liability on the defensive side of the ball. His speed and quickness is incredibly useful. His off-ball movement is very strong. Very, very good in improving his passing, especially in the pick and roll. And being able to have this on the contract that he's on, I think it's like a 4-year, like $30-something million deal. I think it's one of the best values in the NBA as of right now. I understand I think he has 2 more years left on that deal, and I know the next deal he is going to get is going to be pretty crazy, and hopefully it's with the Celtics, but as of right now, it's great to see. Derek White found his shooting stroke again after a pretty abysmal week the previous week, and I think a lot of that just had to do with exhaustion and just being tired. It was a long week. 5 games in 7 days is no easy feat, but 23 points, 2 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, 1 block on also 7 made threes. Just one of those two, when they're in tandem with one another, it's just a dangerous combo. Like, obviously the Celtics have a incredible starting 5, but when you get like the lineup in either the second or the third quarter when Jalen and Kristaps are sitting, and you can roll the lineup. Obviously, JT didn't play in this game, but when you have Pritchard, Derek White, Jason Tatum, Luke Cornett, and then maybe like Al, if he's playing that night, or maybe like Drew Holiday, or even like a Jordan Walsh or a Sam Hauser. That's actually usually who it is. That's a awesome lineup because you spread the floor incredibly well. You play a really clean 4 out, 1 in kind of system. And really able to stretch the floor. And Derek White and Peyton Pritchard have been 2 of the most efficient players in catch and shoot so far this season. And there's a reason why Peyton Pritchard is second in the league in 3-point makes, only behind Anthony Edwards. He beat Kemba Walker's 3-point record in like the first however many games. I think it's like 25 or 26 or like the fastest to 100 threes in a season for a Celtic. And the original record was held by Kemba Walker in 2019-2020. And that was like, I think 27 games. Pritchard is doing this off the bench and did it a game faster. But him and Derek White on wings just gives me such supreme confidence when Jason Tatum is able to just have the ease of driving to the basket and then also being able to kick it to two of the best shooters on the wing and then having like Hauser in the corner or a dump off pass to Luke Cornett. But these two killed it, combined for 50 points, combined for 14 threes made, and really were generating the Celtics offense very well. Kristaps Porzingis played a very good game, 19 points, 8 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 block, or 1 steal, 2 blocks. Drew with a very good bounce back performance compared to his Memphis game, 12 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists on very good shooting efficiency. Jaylen Brown didn't really play as much of a role in terms of scoring. He was much more of a facilitator that night with 14 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists, and really overall just a very balanced game for the Celtics. Luke Cornett, I know, had 12 points. I think Sam Hauser was on the verge of being in double figures. This is when the team is the most dangerous. Like, obviously, there are certain teams that really thrive off of their superstar, like excel. Giannis with the Bucks, Luka with the Mavs, Nikola Jokic with the Nuggets. The issue with facing the Celtics is you really don't know who it's going to come from. Obviously, the two main guys you have to worry about are Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. But when Derek White gives you 25, when Pritchard is dropping 30-foot bombs in your face and giving you 25, Kristaps with a 20, Drew Holiday with 15 and a couple major defensive plays, Sam Hauser's hitting from 3, Luke Cornett's being effective in the post, that is demoralizing for the opponent. Like, if Luka were to give you 30 points, 8 rebounds, 9 assists, you'd be like, all right, Luka had a Luka night. If Sam Hauser dropped 25 on you, that'd be the most demoralizing thing you could ever live with. And he could. Like, he really can. Like, if he's feeling it well, he will get the ball pretty often and he will hit the shots. So just a really well-balanced night for the Celtics. As well, very strong defensively, especially before the garbage time minutes in the fourth. They were consistently up, I want to say, like mid to low 30s, and especially in like the third quarter. And overall, we're just playing very strong and just collapsing defense onto the Pistons. The Pistons also weren't really making a lot of their open shots. Jaden Ivey didn't really shoot that great, but it's still being able to have that kind of pedigree on defense really speaks volumes to the team that the Celtics are. They aren't just like the team that is going to shoot 50 plus threes, which they do. They're on pace to average over 50 plus threes per game. But it's also the aspect of saying, hey, like, when we need a stop, we will get that stop. And we are also going to come down in transition and drain a 3. So I'll talk a little bit more about my thoughts on the whole like play style thing and also the double standard with NBA media in a little bit. But overall, great performance from the Celtics. For the Pistons, Ron Holland the second, I think it is. I think it's either Ron Holland Jr. or Ron Holland the second. 26 points, 3 rebounds. Some of those did come in garbage time, but probably only about like 8 to 10 of them. But really, really effective like shot creating when he had the chance. Cade Cunningham with a solid 18, 8, and 8 really is continuing to improve his game this season with every outing that he has. And this was just a tough matchup for the Pistons. Coming into Boston, long rest week for both teams, honestly. And then just to face a fully rested Celtics team without Jason Tatum and to lose by 24 in the Garden. It's not great for morale. But as of the time of recording this, it's 10:10 p.m. on Monday. They just had a gritty OT game against the Heat and they won. So big bounce back for the Pistons right there. But they're playing a much better brand of basketball than they were at all last season. I thought last season they may have had at times a little bit of better talent, but that was clearly just not the case. This season it is. I know Tobias Harris isn't really like the biggest draw of a name. I know Jalen Duren isn't going to be like the first thought when you think of really strong, talented young big men, but they're a very good team. Cade Cunningham is a very, very underrated shot creator and deserves a lot more praise in just many regards. And Jaden Ivey, while he didn't have the best shooting night tonight, he has the potential to really transform into, like, I feel like they're a step or maybe two, worst case scenario, below like a Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell kind of duo. But I don't know. Like, I just think I'm really high on the Pistons. I do think that they are like one. I think they do need like a true scorer, though, to go with Cade. Like, they need somebody who has really good shot creating ability. Like this is like a pretty random example, but Brandon Miller, I think, would thrive with this Pistons team. Not just because of his shot creating ability, but also just his mentality of like, if I get the ball, I will be looking to shoot. And it's stuff like that that really kind of elevates his game and makes it more intriguing. So obviously just a thought, but I do like the Pistons. Just a tough game for them facing the defending champs, but really, really bright things in terms of their future are going to be ahead. And JB Bickerstaff, I think, is a huge reason for that. Just keeping them in games, making sure that their mentality is making sure their head and the mentality is where it should be. And that leads to future results. No question about it. Next game up, we got the Kings defeating the Pelicans 111-109 in New Orleans. Domantas Sabonis led the way with 32 points, 20 rebounds, 3 assists, and 2 blocks. DeMar DeRozan, very vintage DeMar game with 29 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 4 steals. De'Aaron Fox didn't have the best shooting night, but 18 points, 7 rebounds, 8 assists, 1 steal, 1 block, none to say the least. And Keegan Murray with 18 points and 9 rebounds. This is both a great win and a bad win for the Kings. With the Kings, I do have a lot of questions with kind of just overall like their scoring output. Obviously, they have like a true closer now with DeMar. Like somebody that kind of can give you that isolation matchup at the end of the game and make the opponent pay for it if you need a clutch time bucket, especially. De'Aaron has the moments like that, or had those moments like that in the past, and is very much like a good person to go to alongside with DeMar. But I would never go to Domantas. I don't really like having the ball in the low post unless it's like for like a fadeaway mid-range shot to hopefully win the game. But my concern with Kings is they don't really have the best efficiency from beyond the arc. And I know this is very much me sounding like a new generation take here, which I am a new generation fan. I have been watching basketball since the late 2000s, but very much more so my prime years were from, I'd say, about 2016. I was a fan of the Celtics, but I'd say I really started watching the NBA more from like 2016 on. And the game is obviously changing. We all know this. If you watch the NBA, if you watch really, or if you follow it at all, you know that the 3-point shot is becoming more and more prevalent. But the Kings just don't have a lot of efficiency, and their star players don't really have that efficiency to back it up. Domantas Sabonis isn't really that effective of a 3-point shooter. DeMar DeRozan is the king of the mid-range now. He is not, you don't, like, does he have the ability to lace it up from 3? Absolutely. No questions asked. But that isn't his primary shot that he's looking for. He's not looking to get a screen and roll, be given a little bit of space, and take the pull-up 3 or the spot-up 3. And neither is De'Aaron Fox. DeMar is going to use his shot-creating ability in the mid-range. De'Aaron Fox is going to use his speed to get past a defender, to get to the bucket. And I don't have an issue with that. They brought in Keegan Murray, who has the ability to shoot. Kevin Huerter can clearly shoot. Other than that, though, that's kind of where a lot of their shooting stops. Malik Monk has the ability to shoot, but he is very streaky and doesn't have the most consistent of shot efficiency, that is. So a lot of the times the Kings are trying to play okay, we have to score as efficiently as possible because they don't have as much of the defense to back it up. And then it's also, no, we have to outlast the math issue against most teams. Sure, and I know I bring up the Celtics a lot, but it's because they're the best example of this, and also they're the team I watch the most. With the Celtics, sure, Tatum shoots a lot of threes. Jalen shoots a lot of threes. There are games where they're taking 50 plus threes. We saw it last week against Memphis. They shot 60 threes, and a good amount of them were very wide open looks, no doubt about it. But they also have the defensive versatility and defensive balance to say, hey, we can prevent them from scoring even on our misses. With the Kings, they don't really have that as much. They don't have that luxury. De'Aaron has never been that strong of a defender. DeMar DeRozan is a somewhat average defender. Domantas Sabonis isn't Giannis or Rudy Gobert. He's a average defender. Keegan Murray was never that great at defending, and neither is Kevin Huerter. Keon Ellis, I'd say, is their best guard defender. And I'd say Alex Len is maybe their best post defender. But I think that just raises a lot of concerns with the Kings, especially as you get later into the season, especially if they want to contend in the playoffs. And we saw it even in this case. Like for the Pelicans, CJ McCollum scored with 36 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists. DeJounte Murray, balanced game of 20.7 rebounds, 9 assists, 1 steal, 2 blocks. Trey Murphy with 21 points and 4 rebounds. This is a game that the Kings should have won this game a lot more handedly. They only win by 2. Sure, it was in New Orleans, but nonetheless. Brandon Ingram didn't play. Zion Williamson is out. Jose Alvarado is out. Those are 3 guys who impact a lot of winning for the Pelicans. Yves Missy had the ability to get his space that he needed on the limited shot attempts that he took. CJ McCollum was shot creating with 36 points. Trey Murphy was wide open multiple times in the corner for 3. I would say this is more a bad performance from the Kings and a good performance from the Pelicans. Because we know Brandon Ingram is coming back sooner rather than later. We don't really know the status of Zion, and it just feels like the Pelicans are kind of finding like hope and their rhythm. Unfortunately, though, I do think that is going to get broken up a little bit just with trades and stuff. And we'll get into that in a little later in the episode. But I mean, for the Kings, you have to be able to have that a little bit of defensive security. You have to be able to have a little bit more offensive output if you want to have that kind of no defense security blanket covered. So just my thoughts, but I don't know. Final game from Thursday, Heat defeated the Raptors 114-1. Bam Adebayo led the way with 21 points, 16 rebounds, and 5 assists. Bam is finding his groove, but what I love about what the Heat are doing this year is they are playing through Tyler Hero. Tyler Hero led the way for them with 23 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists. His shot creating ability is very much improved. His defense is getting better. His finishing at the rim is improving. And in a weird way, Jimmy is almost playing that supplemental role of saying like, hey, I'm the guy that you can go to if you need it. I'm not going to be the one forcing you to give it to me and me go to you when you need it or when I need you. Like he's allowing Tyler to shot create. He's allowing him to kind of take control or take over a game when he needs to. We saw it about a week ago with the Lakers game. Tyler Hero had that crazy third quarter. And I don't even know if Jimmy played that game, but like you give Bam the space of the middle and low post. You let Tyler take control of that arc, and Jimmy fills in between. And I think that's the recipe for the Heat. But the fact of the matter is this: the Heat do have the pieces to make a playoff push. I just don't think they are all in the right mindset. Tyler Hero knows what it takes. Bam Adebayo knows what it takes. And so does Duncan Robinson and Jimmy. But Jimmy seems like he's on his way out. He did just announce, or it was announced, that he is most likely going to decline the player option from the Heat and test free agency next summer. Even if he isn't moved, which I think he probably will be, and we'll talk more about that later in the episode as well. But I just think with the Heat, the window is closing, but I also think it's still open. Like, I don't think it's open for title contention, but I do think it's open for like playing like shocker in the playoffs again. Like, I don't know. I do think like if you looked at the names on their roster, they have a much better team than you would think. And the record doesn't totally speak for how good this team actually is. Like, Bam hasn't been playing that great so far this season. Jimmy was out for some time. And so you're kind of playing this balancing act of, do we try and continue to make a push, like one final push, or do we try and plan for the future? And I think that they are leaning more in the plan for the future kind of way because of the Jimmy kind of focus with him leaving. But, you know, they get the win in this one for the Raptors. RJ Barrett, 13 points, 11 rebounds, 10 assists, 3 blocks. Grady Dick, 22 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists. And Jakob Poeltl with 16 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 block, 1 steal. For the Raptors, this might be the most confusing team in the league because they signed massive contracts for Scotty Barnes, which that one makes sense. 100%. That one makes sense. But then you sign a massive deal for RJ Barrett and Emmanuel Quickley. If RJ Barrett and Emmanuel Quickley were on more team-friendly deals, you could trade those for pretty solid assets. Like especially RJ Barrett this season. Like, if you get him on, like, say hypothetically, like, if he was on a more team-friendly deal. And, like, imagine if the Bucks got him. Hey, you get to learn playmaking with Giannis Antetokounmpo and one of the best point guards of this generation in Damian Lillard. Or say you go to the Warriors. Okay, you get Steph Curry and Draymond Green to help you with screen and rolls. Like, that is huge. But now he's kind of stuck in Toronto. There's only one true piece that I feel like Toronto is able to move, and it's Jakob Poeltl, which out of all the pieces to move, that's probably the best one you could move, who has really been playing up his stock this season, like first round pick worthy stock in return. And overall, like, the Raptors are staying close in games. They are doing better than a lot of people expected them to do. They did have 5 guys finish in double figures, which is very good for the balance. It was just they didn't really have a lot of guys in the upper teens to really lift them in this game specifically. But like Ochai Agbaji, Grady Dick, Scotty Barnes, like Emmanuel Quickley even, like, I know I just bashed his contract, but he is still on the younger side. Chris Boucher. Like, they have a bunch of younger guys on this team to where if they get a piece that really is able to push them over the top, they would be able to ride with it. So I think it will be interesting to see how just what they do, especially before the deadline ends, which I know there's plenty of time before the trade deadline even ends, but something does need to happen with the Raptors. I do think they need to they are going to prioritize their future more than anything, but it's what are the results of that kind of thing? Because I don't want them to run into like a Nikola Vucevic situation where it's like, all right, we understand, like, we messed up and we need to sell low on him to a team. But I don't know. Toronto's a weird place. So a couple games from Friday now. Pacers defeated the 76ers 121-107. Tyrese Halliburton led the way with 32 points, 3 rebounds, 11 assists, 1 steal, 1 block. Spicy P, Pascal Siakam, 23 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists on 81% shooting. And Obi Toppin with 20 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 steals. From the jump, it was the Pacers game. They had a commanding lead. They had a mini run in the first quarter, got a pretty solid lead by the end of the first quarter. By halftime, they were up, I want to say, like, in double figures, and then it was just like they would have like a mini run and get to almost 20, and then the Sixers would kind of fight back, and then it just fell apart in the fourth. It seems like Tyrese Halliburton is kind of finding his groove on the road a little bit more, and I don't really think it has ever been just Tyrese's fault for a lot of the games. Sure, there are times where he is shooting about like low 30s and on like 20 something attempts. Not good. Obviously not. But there are times where it's like he will have like a 23, 24 point game with 12 assists. And it's just Pascal Siakam didn't really have that great of a game. Miles Turner didn't really have that great of a game. Benedict Mathurin didn't have a great. So a lot of it is just some of the pieces haven't been able to be put together and kind of fused together that well. But this game, they got it. Unfortunate for the Sixers with Joel Embiid and a fractured sinus. I think a lot of people were kind of assuming that it was just like, oh, it's Joel like kind of flopping. And then we found out and we were like, sorry, like that sucks actually. And I know he'll be reevaluated in a week, which I think almost puts him out of the Christmas matchup against the Celtics, which we'll talk about Christmas games at a later date. But for the Sixers in this context, 22 points for Tyrese Maxey with 3 rebounds, 2 assists. Kelly Oubre with a double-double, 12 points, 13 rebounds. Paul George, 15 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks. And Ricky Council IV with 14 points, 9 rebounds, 2 assists. I know I have an Instagram question asking about the Sixers. I'll give a quick little talking point real quick, or right now, I guess. Using Jared McCain hurts, 100%, no doubt about it. There are just not... They have a true definition of a big three with Tyrese Maxey, Joel Embiid, and Paul George. It was very similar to how the Celtics were in the late 2000s. It was clearly Pierce, Garnett, and Ray Allen. If those three were on, they were the best team in the NBA. If one of them was off, then they're going to beat most teams, but not the elite. If only one of them was on, then that became the issue. That's kind of the issue with a lot of the 76ers games. Joel has been hurt, so that instantly brings you down to 2. And Paul George hasn't really been performing to the level that he should be. And I'm not saying Tyrese Maxey has been playing at MVP or All-Star level, but he's been providing most of it, because there have been very few games where actually all three of them even play together. And so that kind of forces the imbalance with this team. So you're asking a lot more from other players like Kelly Oubre, Andre Drummond, Caleb Martin, who I know was out of this contest, but Gershon Yabusele, Kyle Lowry. There are just a lot of things that you kind of are relying on your 3 main guys to do for you. And when only one of them shows up, that almost puts them in panic mode, and it doesn't really give them enough time to react or adjust to it. So I don't know. I'll give more of my in-depth thoughts in a little bit, but great win for the Pacers nonetheless. If Tyrese can continue this level, then I think that will shut up a lot of people and he'll get back to like all-star status. But with that, it kind of just changes. It's going to change from day to day. I don't think he's going to be getting 32 and 11 every game, but if he can get around like 20 something, like mid to low, like low to mid 20s of like 23, 24 and like 9 to 12 assists a game, then I think that's what translates to winning Pacers basketball. Yeah. Grizzlies defeated the Nets 135 to 119. I was a little confused with the whole Ja and Jordi Fernandez interaction. And I know the soundbite of it came out today. You can go on Twitter if you want to find that. But it's basically, if you didn't see it, Ja Morant took a step back mid-range at the end of the first half, made it, buzzer beater, and he kind of went in Jordi Fernandez's face and said, yeah, and kind of just like, was like, yeah, I made that. Suck it. And then Dennis Schröder kind of responded back and was like, it's like, man, we've gotten your ass before. Like, I've beaten your ass multiple times. So F you. And Taylor Jenkins was like, what are you doing? Like, refs, are you going to stop this? Like, did you not just hear? He's like, this is effing bull. And like, it is what it is. I think it was just taken out of hand. I think it was just taken out of context. Whatever it was, it doesn't really matter. The fact of the matter is, if you don't want him to do that, guess what? Play better defense, or hope that he misses. It's as simple as that. Like, it's the same thing with a taunting penalty in the NFL. It's the same thing with a technical that's taunting in the NBA. If you don't want it to happen to you, then do something about it. It's as simple as that. And I understand there are certain things that you get a technical for that you sometimes can't control, like Tim Duncan laughing or Jason Tatum tossing a ball down in frustration. Just happens to go over his head, but it is what it is. So I just think with this situation, it was just taken a little bit out of proportion. Just not as big of a deal as people were making it out to be. But John Morant did play great this game. 28 points, 7 rebounds, 10 assists. Desmond Bane, 21 points, 4 rebounds, 8 assists, 1 steal, 2 blocks. Triple J, 20 points. 20 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists, 5 steals. And Santi Aldama, 20.6 rebounds. This is the part where the Grizzlies really scare me as a threat in the West. You have the trio of Ja, Bane, and Triple J. And those three can really help elevate your team. And it's the same thing with the Celtics. It's the other guys that you don't expect to really help. Sure, they are without Zach Edey. So imagine a 7-4 monster in that paint as well. But Zach Edey, Santi Aldama, Marcus Smart, Scottie Pippen Jr., Brandon Clark. Those are 5 guys who will provide more than valuable minutes off the bench for you. And that is scary to see. Jay Huff, my GOAT. Like, that is scary to see when you are facing off against a team. And to have this balance from the Grizzlies, who are a very tough, very rugged team, it really does help a whole lot when they're finding their rhythm like this. And when Zach Edey gets back from injury, it's only going to get better. For the Nets, I mean, it's just this. The season is very much over for them. They traded Dennis Schröder, which I will talk about at the end of the episode. But Dorian Finney-Smith led the way, 19 points, 5 rebounds, 1 assist, 2 steals, 2 blocks. Dennis Schröder had 15, 3 and 8. Dorian Finney-Smith will probably no longer be on this team before the trade deadline ends. Cam Johnson probably won't. And apparently Ben Simmons is favorited to land with the Celtics, which, by the way, I'm going to shut that rumor up real quick. Won't happen. Because for it to work, first off, the Celtics would probably have to give up somebody. And I don't really think we need Ben Simmons on the Celtics. Sure, would he be able to facilitate the ball like crazy? Absolutely. But I don't think it's needed. The other part is you need to contract match. Ben Simmons makes $40 million a year. The only person that he could contract match with is Jaylen Brown. If you really think... No, actually, hypothetical question. If you were the Celtics GM, would you make that trade? No, you wouldn't. Jaylen Brown is one of the 20 best players in the NBA. One of the 20 best players in the world. And you would trade him for Ben Simmons? You're not a Celtics fan. Get out of here. But 8 players in double figures for the Nets. Solid performance. It's just... I just think a lot of them are going to be gone. But also, that kind of puts them back into a... Like... As much as losing Mikal Bridges hurt, getting 5 first-round picks out of it is pretty ridiculous. If you were able to get like some solid young players and maybe even a couple second-rounders, maybe a first-rounder as well from whoever you deal with at the deadline, that's a win. That's a win. And then you almost reverse the curse on the Nets. Or on the Celtics trade from 2013. So I know this year is kind of a throwaway. Not so much a throwaway, but just like not going in the direction that they hope it would. But very much potential for the future is there as well. So, final game from the Friday slate. The Suns defeated the Jazz 134-126. Devin Booker led the way with 34 points, 2 rebounds, 8 assists. Kevin Durant had 30 points, 3 rebounds, 8 assists. Tyus Jones, 19 points, 3 rebounds, 11 assists. And Royce O'Neal with 17 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists. This is the Suns that everybody wants. This is the Suns team that everybody wants to see. No Bradley Beal, yes. But if I may, here's the take. I think Bradley Beal honestly hurts their offense more than it helps it. Sure. Having somebody as reliable as Bradley Beal to be able to score you 20-plus points per game is incredibly helpful. No question about it. It is a luxury to have. For the amount of money that you were paying for Bradley Beal, for the lack of health that he's been able to provide for you, and for also the potential clogging of offense that he gives you, I don't really see the value in it. When you have arguably one of, if not the, depending on who you ask, the best shooting guard in the NBA with Devin Booker, and you have the greatest scorer, there I said it, greatest scorer of all time in Kevin Durant, who both, with the correct amount of shot attempts, can easily get you 30, and then you have the best facilitator in the NBA according to assist to turnover ratio in Tyus Jones, a lights out, at times lights out shooter in Royce O'Neal, a somewhat average, solid, big in Yusuf Nurkic. And then you have developing players like Ryan Dunn. You have a solid player in Grayson Allen, Mason Plumlee, being able to provide minutes off the bench. That's a sound basketball team. That's a team that can get you wins, maybe even, especially in the postseason. So I do think that maybe a move is there for Jimmy Butler, and that would really create a strong big three in Phoenix. And I think the move would include Bradley Beal. But when you have a performance like this and you're a Suns fan, you just can't help but tell yourself, like, why can't we see this every night? And I think a lot of that is just health. It's, as I said, it's the same thing with the big three thing. One, if all three are on, that's great. If two of them are going, then that's what you need. When your two is Devin Booker and Kevin Durant, I would feel pretty good about most of my chances in about 90% of the scenarios. Not bad, not bad, not bad, pretty good. But yeah, I think they're just an interesting team to watch. Very, very strong ball movement at times. But then also you get like the opportunities of isolation ball where you kind of get to clear out. And I think that kind of creates a good balance for the team. And I mean, as I said, two guys who can do it just as good, if not better than damn near everybody in the league. For the Jazz, John Collins led the way for them he didn't lead the way. He had 22 points. Jordan Clarkson had 23. But John Collins, 22 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks. Keontae George, 18 points, 6 rebounds, 9 assists, 1 steal, 2 blocks. Jordan Clarkson, 23 points, 2 rebounds, 4 assists. Lauri Markkanen, 19 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists. And Walker Kessler with 17 points, 5 rebounds, and 3 assists. For the Jazz, I think Walker Kessler might not be a Jazz player for the Jazz anymore by the end of the season. I think his value is incredibly high. He's still on the rookie deal. And just like if the Lakers got him, I think that'd just be unfair. Like a lot of teams, if they got a Walker Kessler type player, that just instantly boosts their team by a incredibly large margin. The Jazz have potential. There's no question about it. Keontae George is a very good player. Walker Kessler is very good. It's just the three of John Collins, Jordan Clarkson, Lauri Markkanen. They aren't on extremely team-friendly deals. They're not young or extremely young, but they also like they have games like this, and then you're just like, oh, why wouldn't any team want them? And then it's just like because they're near first round pick value. Or like at least a couple second rounders, and nobody is wanting to pay for the contract value as well, because then you'd have to throw in a pretty valuable player in return. So I want the Jazz to be good. I want them to go back to the Darren Williams, Carlos Boozer, AK-47, Andre Kirilenko days, Mehmet Okur. Like I want them to be a solid contender again. I just don't know when it will be. Yeah, I went to that era instead of the Donovan Mitchell era. Sue me. Love Darren Williams. NBA Cup Saturday. 2 games. 2 very good games. The Bucks defeated the Hawks 110-102 for the first matchup of the night. Giannis led the way with 32 points, 14 rebounds, 9 assists, 1 steal, 4 blocks. And Damian Lillard followed suit with 25 points, 6 rebounds, 7 assists, and 3 steals. They are playing like the best duo in the NBA. I'm not going to say they're the best duo in the NBA, but they are playing like it. Giannis is continuing to just push his name up even further with every win the Bucks get into that MVP conversation. And Damian Lillard is playing like a true point guard again. Like facilitating, running the pick and roll very effectively with Giannis. I know Brook Lopez had a solid game and so did Bobby Portis. But the bulk of it were these two. That block by Giannis on that Clint Capella alley-oop towards the end of the fourth was crazy. I saw somebody on Twitter say, it's just a block. Why are you freaking out? And I'm like, you have no idea how absurd that is to time that up, to read the offensive scheme that well, and to be in the right position and not get a foul call either. Full speed, full momentum, block a guy as he's about to try and posterize you, and you perfectly get the ball. That's just the type of defender Giannis is. I'm not saying he is a perfect defender, but his physical attributes provide so much more value than people want to give him credit for. Am I a big fan of his offensive play style? Not really, no. It's just if Shaq had downhill movement and ball handling skills. That's what it is. But you can't not sit there. You can't sit there and not say like, wow, this is incredibly easy for him and incredibly impressive. Like, it's just the proof is in the pudding. 32 points, 14 rebounds, 9 assists, 1 steal, 4 blocks. 5 stocks, very good defensive value. 32 points on very good shooting, very good offensive value. That seems pretty good to me. Who wouldn't want that? So I feel like a lot of the times people overvalue play style more than actual results. I get it. It may not be the prettiest thing to watch, but guess what? It works. And it works well. Go up to anybody and say, hey, do you want like a consistent 32 point per game scorer on your team? They'd be like, yeah. Like, who wouldn't? I feel like a good amount of NBA Twitter is just like, no, I'm good. I don't like how he just dribbles to the basket every time and just either dunks it or with ease lays it in. It's not my game. It's just ridiculous. Damian Lillard though is finding his shooting stroke again, and it's just the balance between the two are just so strong. It's just getting better and better. The Giannis and Dame pick and roll is one of the most effective sets and actions in the NBA right now. And I don't know why they don't spam it every time they go, because 90% of the time it results in 3 options. The defender goes under, Damian Lillard has an easy 3. If the defender goes over, then boom, you have you get somebody on his hip, and then you can pull the help defender, the screen defender, onto you, lob to Giannis, or if he stays on Giannis, easy layup. If they switch, then you have a mismatch. And then you can find Giannis in the post, or if you're Damian Lillard's feeling really good, boom, pull a 3. Understand, this isn't NBA 2K, where you can just use the same players over and over again and just spam and it works. We're talking about humans versus humans. But let's make it like 2K and let's get this play set going, because I see it. I know it works. One of the best plays in the NBA. The 2 of the best players in the NBA. Running it perfectly. Just saying. Trae Young led the way for the Hawks, though, 35.7 rebounds, 10 assists. Other than that, though, we didn't get crazy production from the Hawks, and that's kind of what really kept them down this game. Jalen Johnson only 15 points, but 10 rebounds, 4 assists. DeAndre Hunter, 15 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists. I know Dyson Daniels only had 11. I know Bogey had 10. So in a cup game like this, it is tough to kind of have the off night be that one night you need to win. And I think that's what's great about the cup. If your team is rolling, you roll. Go through. And you will have no problem making it to the final. But you got to have that consistency. And if you have that one slip up, you're out. And the Hawks had the slip up. But I do still think they're this year's Pacers, where they're going to use their momentum from their cup performance and help it propel them into an incredible season. I do think they're just a much better team than people will really give them credit for. But all in all, just a very solid team. Very good defensively. I think they do need another kind of true shot creator. I don't really trust Jalen Johnson as a shot creator as much. I think he has all the other intangibles, very good slashing ability, very good in transition, very good at reading defenses, being able to, or as well, offenses as well on the other side of the ball, very good length, very good height. It's just they need another shot creator. That's what they wanted in DeJounte Murray, and it just didn't really work out. So I don't know who exactly they would be looking for, but like low key, like hypothetically, like a prime Lauri Markkanen kind of player, where it's like a stretch 4 with like the pick and pop ability, but also can like roll and get an easy basket. So it was just a very good game for the first one. And in some aspects, the second one was even better. depending on who you ask. But still, both games are very good. And speaking of that second game, Thunder defeated the Rockets 111-96. I'll go through my thoughts and then I'll get to the double standards take. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 32 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists, 5 steals, 1 block. Pretty good. Pretty good. I know I'm going to talk about it in a little bit with Luka's absurd performance. He's the best shot creator in the NBA right now. It's as simple as that. I don't think he's the best shot maker. I think that might be Luka, but there is never a time where I don't ever feel not confident with SGA's shot. Like his mid-range pull-up, his turnaround fadeaways, his pull-up threes, his catch and shoot, his ability to get to the lane, his speed, his balance, his pace. It is so fun and easy to watch. Luka is the better scorer in terms of shooting, but in terms of creation, it's SGA. Better defender, I'd say Luka is probably a better playmaker, but in terms of defending and in terms of shot creating, it's SGA. So I don't really have an issue with whoever you put at 1A, 1B, because it's those two, and then it's the next step. And I'd probably be Curry or something. But it's like, I feel like it's these two every night, just flip-flopping. So, just so good. Isaiah Hartenstein, 21 points, 8 rebounds. Jalen Williams, 20 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. Lou Dort with a big 19 points, 9 rebounds, and 3 steals. For the Rockets, or for the Thunder, really started out slow. I think they only had about 41 points in the first half, and then they really kicked it into high gear, and a lot of that was Shai with his distribution as well. Lou Dort made some big shots. Isaiah Hartenstein had some big plays. This is the most dangerous team in the West, and I know I was talking so much about the Grizzlies. What the Grizzlies are is the B version of the Thunder. Their main three of Shai, Chet, and J-Dub would wipe the floor of the Memphis Three. No questions asked. Their role players, Isaiah Hartenstein, Lou Dort, Cason Wallace, Alex Caruso. Isaiah Joe. They're so good. They're so good defensively, and I know the Rockets aren't that great offensively. But holding a team to 96 points is not the most simple thing to do. They held Alperen Sengun and Jalen Green, who I think combine usually for about just around 40 points or just under 40 points, to a combined 25 points this game. Amen Thompson led the way for them with 19.7 rebounds, 3 steals. Sengun had 13, 11, and 2 assists, 2 steals. Jabari Smith, 14.6 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, 1 block. The Rockets are an incredible defensive team. They are not the Thunder. As much as their defensive impact is there, 100%, they ran into the better version of them. And so, as much as a lot of the Rockets' issue is they do need a shot creator. They need somebody who, other than Fred VanVleet, to come in and say, yeah, I can go out and get the basket on my own in isolation or through traffic or whatever it is. If Fred VanVleet doesn't play that well, then they don't really have that. So that's why I think Jimmy Butler is going to be the guy they should go for. I understand they don't want to give up Tari Eason or Amen Thompson. I don't think you have to, but I do think you should try and make a serious push at Jimmy Butler. They also had 6 total players in double figures. That's both the great thing and the bad thing of the Rockets is they don't have a guy who averages about 20 points per game. It's not going to win you games. In the NBA now, where most teams average at least 110, I'm actually going to look it up. What is the league average points per game for a team? NBA league averages per game. Let's see. Points. Last year it was 114. Year before that it was 115. The last time, and I'm actually curious. I'm gonna look at just what the Rockets, how much of the, what is the Rockets. So it was 112 points per game as a team. Let's see here. Team and opponent stats. They're averaging about 112, which is pretty interesting, but a lot of it just happened to be that some of their guys didn't really come out and score. So if you're scoring at league average, that doesn't really, you got to be able to do more than that. So just my thought. My double standard thing. Charles Barkley, what are you talking about? So if you didn't see it, Charles Barkley was talking about how he basically had the quote of, it looks like, let me see what he said. He had the quote about kind of how the Rockets were playing. He said he's kind of talking about like the Rockets' current success, and he said they don't have any idea how to play basketball. They play the game strictly on talent. They got so much more talent than the Warriors. They've got a great record, but they're not ready for primetime. The referees had to give them this game tonight. They have a bright future, but man, they have to learn discipline, how to take care of the ball, shot selection. Now, I know this was after the Warriors game from a little bit ago, but you could say the same thing applied for this one. I don't like the double standard in the NBA media where it's like, we don't like the amount of threes that you guys are taking. We don't like how you're making the game boring. We don't like how viewership is down. And then you have a hard-nosed defensive battle, and you say, man, these guys suck. It's like the generations of basketball have changed. They changed in the 2000s. They changed in the 90s. They changed in the 80s. Whatever you want to talk about when it changed, it's changed. And there's no question about it. Except the change. Except the fact that the game is different than it was when you played. The moment that happens, the moment is easier to just make a take and just watch basketball. Like, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I love Charles. But when you make a statement like that, that's when people get mad at you. It's the same thing with Kendrick Perkins saying Joe Mazzulla has two versions. It's the good Joe Mazzulla, it's the good brain of Joe Mazzulla, and it's the other brain where you take his brain out and you can put it in a bird and the bird flies backwards. It's like, what do you mean? God forbid. The NBA is changing. All right, Sunday slate. First game up, Celtics versus Wizards. The Celtics defeated the Wizards 112-98. Jason Tatum, first game back in over a week, led the way with 28 points, 12 rebounds. Pretty solid shooting efficiency. Not great from deep, but it is what it is. Derek White with a really solid night. 15 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks. And Peyton Pritchard, 15 points, 11 rebounds, 6 assists. Celtics were in control for most of this game. The Wizards just made their shots kind of towards the end, and also a little bit in the third. But overall, Celtics look great. Kristaps, I know, went out with a little bit of an injury. I think he'll be fine. It looks like it was a right heel injury, which wasn't the same foot as his weird foot injury from the playoffs last season. But I think it was the same foot that he kind of strained earlier this season. So it is what it is. And I mean, just a great game. The Celtics were hitting their shots very well. They were playing solid defense. The stat of them having more wins in Washington than the Wizards do this season. Celtics are 3-0 in Washington, and the Wizards are 2-11 at home. That's concerning. Jordan Poole led the way for them with 21 points, 3 rebounds, 7 assists, 2 steals. Such a funny moment when he literally crossed over Peyton Pritchard and then just points at him. What are you doing, guy? Didn't even shoot the ball, and then they gave up a turnover. Justin Champagnie followed suit with 13 points, 14 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 steals, and 2 blocks. And Bilal Coulibaly, who continues to be their best defender by far, 19 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists. I don't know what to do with the Wizards. I really do think that they're just hoping they get Cooper Flagg, and then he is able to kind of give that franchise a little bit of a driving force. But I don't know. I don't know at this point. I don't think they get him. I just think the lottery is going to kind of mess with them and not allow them to get it. But overall, great win for the Celtics. I do think there are times where the Celtics do like kind of confuse me. And it's more so just like sometimes shot selection. Like I know people are questioning a lot of like the transition threes. Like if you're like a pull-up 3-point shooter and you have nobody on you, and you have a big man in the paint, then that's fine. I don't really have an issue with that. What I more so have an issue with is when it's like you have a 2-on-1 or a 3-on-2, or more so the 2-on-1, and it's like you decide, hey, I'm going to pass to this guy, and instead of just giving it back to me after a pump fake and a dish, you pump fake or just completely just swing pass it over to somebody in the corner for a 3. If it goes in, then it goes in, but it's just take the easy 2. That's all. But yeah, great win for the Celtics. Next game up, Knicks defeated the Magic 100-91. Karl Anthony Towns led the way with 22 points, 22 rebounds, 5 assists. Jalen Brunson, 31 points, 3 rebounds, 5 assists. And Mikal Bridges with a 17 point and then 1 rebound, 1 assist, 1 steal, 1 block game. Pretty interesting. My biggest question for this game was, why the hell did Cat play 43 minutes? I understand Mitchell Robinson is out until at least late January, maybe even February, which isn't great, especially for your defensive impact, especially for your overall rotations. It's not great though when it's not great when you are asking your supposed to be all-star power forward or big to play 43 minutes. 43 minutes of basketball? What are you doing? Tom, open your brain. We're not asking you to play him 30. We're asking you to play him like 34. Give the man a break. If you're going on a run, take him out for a little bit. If he's good, then he's good, but like, let the man breathe. I think the Knicks are a solid, talented team, but I think Tom Thibodeau is 40. What? Like, and you already have Josh Hart, who basically begs you to like let you play. I think like the Knicks are an incredibly talented team. When they're fully healthy, they're going to be a problem. No question about it. It allows Cat to not really have to worry as much on the defensive side of the ball. It allows him to just continue to just play the stretch four that he wants to play. And it gives you another piece off the bench, whether that be Mikal, whether that be Mikal or Josh Hart or OG Anunoby, whatever it is. You can't do this to your player. I don't know. For the Magic, Mo Wagner, 32 points, 6 rebounds, 1 assist, 2 steals. And then Tristan da Silva, 20 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists. The Jalen Suggs thing, him crashing out after that 6th foul call, it was a foul. You tried playing full court pressure defense when you guys were down 13 or something with like 8 minutes left in the fourth, and you didn't have a foul. If you fouled him, which you did, you're out of the game. I do think the Magic, though, are going to, like, once Paolo comes back and once Franz comes back, I think they're going to be a legitimate threat. And I think they're going to be like an annoying team where it's like they're a 7 seed, but they're really like a 4 seed. And it's just going to suck for whoever has to play them. Hopefully not the Celtics. That's all I want. Final game of the slate, Mavericks 143, Warriors 133. Luka Doncic, 45 points, 11 rebounds, 13 assists, 3 steals, 2 blocks on 70% shooting. Yeah, I'm going to go. I don't know what I'll do with myself. What are all with my takes? Like, I feel like I know basketball pretty well, right? I've been watching for a good amount of time. And I say something stupid, like, I think Luka Doncic is pretty overrated. Then he does this. 45 points? Chill out. Respectfully, of course. He's like he's gonna go down as one of the best offensive players of all time. No question about it. I think more so the overrated part the part of the overratedness that I was getting at more so was not so much his ability, but more so people saying we've never seen this before. We have seen it, and it's Larry Bird. Like, Prime Arvydas Sabonis would have been, not to this volume, not to 45 points, but would have done this playmaking, would have been Jokic before Jokic, obviously. He's improving his defense pretty effectively, obviously, 5 stocks. But when he's making shots like that, it's just like, you can't really compete. They had 113 points, I think, or like 114 points by the end of the third. That beats out every score I mentioned for the last 5 games in terms of max. That's ridiculous. Clay had 29 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, and a block on 7-11 from 3. It's always open. Kyrie Irving, 21 points, 3 rebounds, 8 assists. Ridiculous. And then for the Warriors, like, they had a great bounce back game compared to the Rockets game. Steph Curry, 26 points, 5 rebounds, 10 assists. Andrew Wiggins, 29 points, 3 rebounds, 4 assists. Jonathan Kuminga, 20 points, 3 rebounds, 6 assists. Draymond Green, 21 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists. It was literally just ran into a buzzsaw. They just couldn't escape. Simple as that. The Mavericks are playing better and better every game. They're becoming more and more of a threat every day in the West. I think the West comes down to like 3 teams right now for me. It's the Thunder, the Mavs, and the Grizzlies. I think those 3 teams are the most balanced. I think they have the star power to back it up. And yeah, I really just don't know which. As of right now, I do think the Thunder are the best of those 3. And I think a lot of that just has to do with the sometimes lack of guard play or lack of, dare I say, defense from the Mavs, but still, like, it's just the Thunder are the best team in the West, and they don't have Chet. They haven't had him for like the last couple of weeks, and they won't get him back until like January, not July, January. Great game for the Warriors. They just wasn't enough. Simple as that. All right, we got a couple IG Instagram questions for today. Then we're going to talk the Dennis Schröder trade, Jimmy Butler leaving the Heat, MVP ladder from NBA.com, and then who I think will win the finals in the NBA Cup. There was a question about the Alvin and the Chipmunks. I'm not going to bring that up. I will say my answer, though. It's Theodore. If you know, you know. These next three questions are all from my good friend Jonah. Jonah, how are you? Hope you're well. Hope dinner with your mom during the Grizzlies game was great. Let's get you on the pod soon. Simple as that. A couple other people I'm going to shout out. Ben Britton, let me know. Chris Starr, let me know. AJ, I think I'm going to be doing a special guest episode with AJ for Christmas next week or something. We'll be in Florida together, so we shall see. So these three questions are all from Jonah. Does Jason Tatum have a chance to win MVP? He does. Here's what needs to happen. Nikola Jokic needs to stop playing basketball and not make the 65-game threshold. I think same with Giannis, and Thunder need to collapse. And then I think Tatum has a chance. Or, here's the other one. Tatum ruins the Boston Celtics game plan, plays solo ball, and tries to go for like 40 every game. I don't think he does. And I don't think it's his fault. I think it's more so because of the assets of the team. When you go into a game, or when you walk out of a game and you have Pritchard being able to score 27, White being able to score 20 plus, KP with 20 plus, Jaylen Brown with 20 plus, Drew Holiday with 20 plus, or however many, that just takes away shots from your best player. And I don't have an issue with that. But I know people on Celtics Twitter do, because they have an agenda to push, which doesn't matter. It has never been about MVPs. It has been about rings. So take that MVP in. He does have a chance. He does. I just don't think it happens this year. I think it happens. I do think he will win an MVP. I just don't think it's this year. Simple as that. Will the 76ers finish above 500? Probably. I think so. And I think a lot of it more so is just because of how weak the Eastern Conference is. Nets, Raptors, Hornets, Wizards, Bulls, Nets, Raptors, Wizards, Hornets, Bulls. Like, those are 5 bad teams automatically. And then they're going to get some wins, like here and there. Like, they just beat the Hornets tonight. I know they did. And they crushed them. Paul George and Tyrese Maxey had a very good game tonight. So I do think they will, but I don't think they're going to be like a true problem like they were for like the past couple seasons kind of thing. And I think a lot of that has to do with injury and also just kind of overall, just situationally, I guess. But yeah. So I don't know. Final question from Jonah. Would LeBron to the Warriors make them the favorites in the West? I don't think so. Here's why. For not only for that just to work for the Lakers side, but contractually, you would probably lose Andrew Wiggins. You'd lose Andrew Wiggins. You'd probably lose Jonathan Kuminga. You're going to lose a couple picks. Like, sure. The idea of LeBron and Curry is awesome. 100%. But you can't tell me as an NBA fan, you can't, we're going to go mobile with the mic for the rest of this episode. You can't tell me, and I know you watch the NBA, Jonah, you can't tell me as an NBA fan that you don't think LeBron and Curry have kind of regressed a little bit this season. Like, I love both of them dearly. I really do. I think they're two of the best players in the generation. I just think together they would be an incredible duo. 100%. My concern with them is just the pieces around them. The Warriors are a team built on depth this season. What do you do when you take away Jonathan Kuminga and Andrew Wiggins and probably somebody else? You take away your wing depth, which is the one position you need if you want LeBron James to be on your team. You need a little bit of wing help. And so I do think there's like it can make them the favorites, but they still wouldn't be my favorites. I still just think the Thunder are too good of a team right now. And also, not only just too good of a team right now, but also without one of the best young players in the NBA. Let's not forget, Chet Holmgren is in his second year. If Victor Wembanyama wasn't an NBA player, he would have won Rookie of the Year last year, and damn near would have won Defensive Player of the Year. That's how good of a defender he is. I think in some ways there's a possibility that it could work out with LeBron going there. I just don't see him leaving the Lakers, or I don't really see the Warriors trying to match that money kind of thing. So, but hey, still a great question though, nonetheless. So thank you, Jonah, for those 3 questions. Couple of topics before we head out for today. The Dennis Schröder trade. Dennis Schröder was traded from the Brooklyn Nets to the Golden State Warriors on a Monday Night Football. The Minnesota Vikings won 30-12. I'm going to text my brother real quick to make sure that he made it to his final for his fantasy league. I think it was D'Anthony Melton and 3 second rounders for Dennis Schröder. I think it's a good deal. But I don't think it's as much of a help as many Warriors fans think. I think a lot of it is, sure, he provides value in the regard of, like, he's another playmaker. He's another ball handler. He's another ball handler for you who is playing very well this season. 18 points on 45% shooting, 39% from 3, with 6 rebounds and a steal per game, or 6 assists and a steal per game. Very good. But that's as the primary ball handler. That isn't so much as, like, that's not some, by the way, AJ Ryan did make his fantasy championship. Congrats to AJ. And so I do think, like, it's going to help. No doubt about it. It gives them a more secure secondary player in terms of being able to help generate the offense. No doubt about it. But I do think if they really want to, like, shake up the landscape, I think they need to go to get, like, Jimmy Butler. But for them to trade away D'Anthony Melton, who sadly is out for the year with a torn ACL, and only 3 second round picks, pretty good. Value wise, really good trade. I just don't really think it moves the needle as much as most people think it does. I mean, I feel like I say this a lot, but I'm just like, when you average 15 plus points per game on a bad team, that point total is going to drop. Mikal Bridges, not averaging 20 a game. Who would have thought? I did. Terry Rozier was averaging 20 plus a game on Charlotte and then got traded to the Heat. Now he's like 12, 13 a game. That Schroeder number is going to drop down to 12 or like 14. But it's sure, it might be more efficient, but like, I don't think he was brought in as a scorer first. I think he was brought in as primarily as just a playmaker, which I think if they do that, then that's great, but still. Speaking of Jimmy Butler is planning on leaving the Heat. It was announced today that he is most likely going to decline his player option. It is most likely that he is going to want out of the Heat, which I think is fair. For a very long time, or as much as you might think I despise Jimmy Butler because I'm a Celtics fan. You can think that if you want. I love Jimmy. I think he's an incredibly talented player. My thing with Jimmy is he is one of the best clutch players, but he isn't really. He's kind of similar to DeMar DeRozan, where he doesn't really have the best 3-point shot, but he's a better driver than DeMar. So I feel like I always downplay Jimmy. I'm like, oh, he isn't that good. And then he has games like tonight where he gets like 30 points with ease on like really good efficiency. And I'm like, shit, I look like an idiot. The two teams that like, I think the best situation for him would probably be the Suns. If he could be like the third guy for the Suns, and just kind of do Beal and him, and then maybe another piece from the Suns. I don't know. But I think the two that really intrigue me the most are the Warriors and the Rockets. The Rockets, if he goes to the Rockets, that helps with a lot of development for that young team. Jalen Green, you get a true savvy vet to help with like confidence and also just like overall just ability and defense as well. Same with Amen Thompson. That helps him out a lot. Tari Eason helps him out a lot. You also get a guy that you can trust in the late game clutch to kind of take your shot for you. I think contractually they would need to give up Fred VanVleet, but like I really think the Rockets would be fine getting rid of some of that contract. But I don't know. I think it's pretty interesting. For the Warriors, I think they need to give up like Kuminga and like maybe a couple other pieces. If they could somehow keep Andrew Wiggins, like that'd be huge. That'd be massive for them. I don't know if they would be able to, but if they could, then I would consider that a legitimate win for the Heat, or for the Warriors in that case. Real quick, the NBA.com came out with their MVP ladder and their most recent MVP ladder, and I'll give my quick thoughts on each spot. At number 10, Trae Young, Atlanta Hawks. Sure, I don't really care. He's not winning it. Number 9, Victor Wembanyama, San Antonio Spurs. If they become a non-play-in playoff team, then I think he could arguably a top 5 MVP candidate. He has been absurd this month, just playing really well. Yeah. Number 8, Donovan Mitchell, Cleveland Cavaliers. Best team, best player kind of thing. We saw it with Tatum last year. Somebody got on Twitter and tried to say, like, I basically said, right now, I think it's a 3-horse race between, and this was before like Giannis and the Bucks kind of really resurgence. I said, I think the MVP is a 3-horse race between Jason Tatum, SGA, and Jokic. And somebody replied, what about D Mitch? And I just said, I don't think like best player, best team narrative works. And he goes, well, he's averaging like 24, 5 and 5. I'm like, Tatum averaged 27, 6 and 7 last year on the best player in the team, as the best player on the best team in the NBA. And nobody even questioned. Nobody even like threw his name in the hat. Like he was like 4 or 5 in the MVP discussion. And he goes, well, like they're on pace for 72, like 70 something wins. I'm like, hey man, if Donovan Mitchell helps lead the Cavs to 70 something wins, then go ahead. I don't have an issue with him winning MVP, but there's no shot that he's getting 70 something wins. So, number 7, Anthony Davis. Yeah, that's fair. Numbers wise, yes. Record wise, no. I'm very much a proponent that record matters. Like, I think the one case you can make is Jokic, but that's just because of how bad the Nuggets are without him. But I'm not going to get into that. Luka Doncic, number 6. Yeah, I think it'll be a little bit higher by like in a month. Honestly, I think it might be like 5. 5, Karl Anthony Towns. I was kind of shocked by this. Like, I'd rather have Luka over Cat, but I don't know. 4, Jason Tatum. Sure, don't really have an issue with it. 3, SGA. Sure, Giannis 2 and Jokic 1. Yeah, like it's a basic list in the top 4, but like, not gonna have an issue with it. All right, let's round up this podcast. I know it's been a long one. Thank you all for listening. It's really late. It's 11:30 right now, so let's wrap it up. Tomorrow night, or if you're listening to this on Tuesday night was, or if you're listening to this after, it was on Tuesday, Bucks versus Thunder for the NBA Cup final. I think it's easily been the 2 best teams in the NBA Cup so far this season, playing off against each other. Shout out Darvin Ham, who hasn't lost in the NBA Cup game. Will the Thunder be the first ones to do it? I think yes. Thunder are the best defensive team in the NBA right now. If I am the Thunder, I am almost approaching it like I, as a Celtics fan, was approaching the finals. Lucas can score 40. He can score 50. Hell, he can score 60. Lock everyone else up. It doesn't matter. Giannis can go for 50 tomorrow. If you do a good job at containing Dame, then the game is over, basically. But I do think Isaiah Hartenstein is one of the best players to go up against Giannis. If only the Thunder had a Giannis Antetokounmpo stopper. Well, they did. His name is Al Horford. Boom, the GOAT. I do think in certain ways for the Bucks, like Dame is going to be the most important player. And for the Thunder, it's going to be Isaiah Hartenstein and Jalen Williams and J-Dub. It's how are those guys going to play? Obviously, the role players and the star for each team and Giannis and Shea are important. But with these teams, the role players are just as effective or just as important as any other part. So I do think the Thunder will win, but I do think it will still be a very close game. Nonetheless, I'm very excited to watch. You can find it on TNT. I think it's at like 7:30. Probably won't start until 8. So screw all the late starts. It's ridiculous. Another episode done. I hope you all enjoyed it. I hope you all had a great time listening to me ramble on about the NBA. If you did like it, if you did like it, if you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe, leave a comment, Let me know if you have any opinions, any thoughts, any questions, any critiques. Anything is welcome. Again, you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Talkin' Triple. Player of the day, Randy Foye. Just an abysmal shot chart in like 2012. All right, everybody. Have a great day. Love you all. Peace.